this in my
That's
life.
right.
This is the first time I ever understood it.
Oh, I got an email this morning. It said that the toughest stop in Shas.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
I think people.
You haven't said you're a genius.
No, not at all.
Yeah, no.
No,
All the
I
genius say that.
I have friends who are geniuses.
Yeah.
Okay.
All the genius say that.
Okie dokie. All right. Very quick. I'm gonna just go over a couple of halachas and then we'll
Okay,
get
you
to
watched the video this morning?
which video.
For my life.
No, I didn't see it.
Oh.
No, I think
Probably
I didn't
like
see it.
Ramayla?
I didn't see it. Who looked like
Oh, you
Ramiro?
get it? You're on that. What's that?
Of course, I mean, I see it.
He's probably on 400
It's all
different
over.
channels.
Ramayla's unbelievable.
Yeah,
Talks about the power of the Purims.
It's very
Beyond.
easy to hear.
I love listening to him. He's
Beyond.
so Yismach.
Yeah.
He's so gewaldig. Yeah.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Okay, so let's Olam Hafach Reisi Nahafaychu. Today on one day to do a Nahafaychu, we'll do a Aleph after Amid Beis. Okay, so the Gemara had finished prior to what we were holding up to. We was going back and forth between Rebbe and the Chachamim. The Mishnah said these 15 arayas are aser and tzara. We learned it up from Aleha and Litzrar, and a whole complicated series of drushes.
It was very.
That was Shitas Chachamim, and then the Gemara said, Rebbe, where does he learn that out from? He doesn't learn it out from Aleha. He learns it out from V'yama, V'lakha. He learns it out from there, and therefore the Gemara went through a whole complicated cheshbon as well. I wrote down a whole bunch of different examples of, so even the tzara of a tzara's erva when they're not talking, even a little more complicated stuff. The Gemara eventually got to the point where we finished explaining where Rebbe learns all of his dinam out from, the Chum learned their dinam out from. There was one pasuk left over that Rebbe hadn't used. That was the pasuk of Aleha, which we started the entire Masechta with. Aleha, between Yibum and the Gzera Shah between Yibum and Achos Isha taught us that, according to the Chachamim, that the Isser Achos Isha applies even when it's Yibum, meaning to say that you don't do Yibum with an erva. That was the sheet of the Chachamim. Rebbe didn't need that. He understood it, min hastam, ein asadech lo yishesh bekaras, and he understands v'lakach, when the extra hay v'lakcha, the extra hay v'yibma, tells me that tzara sarasa. So he has the word Aleha in the parsha of Yibum to teach me, in the parsha of Achos Isha is extra. What's it for? So says the Gemara, last couple of lines over here, four lines in the bottom, on Chesam and Beis, last word on the line, Urebi. Urebi hay Aleha, my avidle. What does he do with the pasuk of Aleha, which until now was being occupied for the Chachamim to teach me the din of erva? Look at the Tanya. It needs for the following brisa. Dein chayav and bezdin. And so before I read the brisa, let me just go over a couple of very brief halachas. There are many different types of karbanos. The basic carbon you bring when someone does an aveira is a chatos. And we're about to spend an entire ummah discussing under what circumstance do you bring a chatos. You don't just bring a chatos every time you do a lav. The lav has to be a lav sheyesh bo kares. If the lav is not a lav sheyesh bo kares, by accident, you're not going to be chayev chatos.
Like Shabbos.
You don't bring carbon. So, for instance, if a person breaks Shabbos, if a person sleeps with a woman he's not supposed to sleep with, that's a chayev kares, but he did it b'shogeg, and he didn't realize it was his sister. That's if you do b'mezid. Do b'mezid would kill you.
That was crazy.
Do they get kares?
If there's no Eidim, you get kares.
Whoa.
With
if
Eidim,
you did Mitzvah Bezdin.
Mitzvah Bezdin is B'chal Masayim Man.
It's B'chaper the kares.
I think so, yeah. That's like a little bit of like a special Rachmanas HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives Mitzvah Bezdin, which is that Hashem gives you death in this world and he takes away from the... But either way, but if kares means you die early, so then either way.
You died early.
You died early, and just by the hands of people. Okay. So a carbon chatas is what you bring. Our Gemara, now none of the psukim that mention chatas actually say what the chatas comes for. It says, meaning it'll explain what the avera, it'll explain the circumstances under which you're chayav the chatas, but it won't explain the nature of the avera you did. On that, we have to use the pasuk of Aleha to teach me, at least according to Rebbe, that Aleha is going to teach me that they're all only referring to kares. Really? The only time you're chayiv to bring a chatas, whether you're a yachid or it's a tzip, whatever it is, a chatas only comes for an avera that had you done it b'mezid, you're chayiv kares, so the mishogir you're chayiv a chatas. But if it's b'mezid, only going to be, not going to be chayiv kares. It's a regular lav, not a lav sheish be'kares. Then the halacha is, if you do it b'shogeg, you're not chayiv misa. So, you're not chayiv chatas. So as an example, if a person ate nevela is not a chayiv kares. It's a lav. That shouldn't do it. If a person ate nevela b'shogeg, he doesn't have to bring a chatas. You only bring a chatas if the avera you did in b'mezid would have been a kares. So now, just a quick hakdama. So says the Gemara, we're going to get to it in a minute. There are a couple of different types of chatases. You can have a chatas that belongs to the tzibur, The two most popular examples of the chatas that belongs to the tzibur are what's referred to as the par ha'elim davar shel tzibur, which is just simply when Bezdin is mora halacha, and rov of Klal Yisrael follow them. The halacha is that all of the people who did the avera don't have to bring a chatas. Rather, Bezdin has to bring a chatas. Someone in Bezdin, or all of, I'm not exactly sure who, but someone in Bezdin has to bring, and they have to bring a par, they bring a male cow, a bull, par helim davar shel tzibur. So the question is,
Bezdin made a mistake.
Bezdin made a mistake. The question is, what type of an avera?
Yeah.
Did they just say that's not nevela, it turns out it's nevela, or no? It only is true that they bring a chatas if the avera that they had people do on their psak was a karistika avera. So if they said, for instance, you're allowed to marry this woman, and everyone went ahead and married their whatever, their kares. So now each one of those people are not chayiv to bring a chatas. Bezdin's chayiv to bring a chatas. Param lev shel tzibur. There's another param lev shel tzibur specifically for avodah zarah. Yeah, we'll get to that in a second. So param lev shel tzibur, which is for all averas, also exists specifically for avodah zarah. Before avodah zarah, you could have a par shel avodah zarah. That's a tzibur dika par. The halacha there is, and I don't want to get too bogged down into the specifics of the types of animals, is that there's the unique halacha there is you bring two karbanos, you bring a par, but the par is for an oila, and you bring a seir, a goat, for a chatas.
Wow.
But the point is there is a chatas. Yeah, exactly. You bring a chatas, and that chatas is only if it's an avodah zarah that has kares. Not all avodah zarah has kares. It's a big chiddush. Rashi tells us. You can have scenarios of avodah zarah, different things you could do where it's not an actual kares. One of the chibuk kanisha could be a hug of pesel or something like that. You're not chayiv kares for that. Since you're not chayiv kares, that's not something that if Bezdin paskins that's not avodah zarah, and then everyone goes and serves that avodah zarah accidentally, no one's chayiv kares, no one's chayiv a chatas there, because b'mezid it's not a chayiv kares. Meaning again, we're going to see this is all learned out from Psukim. Those are the two tzibur karbanos. Then you have another quasi-tzibur one. It's not really a tzibur, it's a yachid, but it's the par kain Mashiach. The par kain Mashiach is just a kain gadol. Kain gadol, the halacha is, if he's mora halacha to himself, and he's mora halacha about something that is chiv kares, b'shogeg, he has a chiv to bring a chatas. Now his chatas, interestingly enough, is different than a yachid who brings a chatas. If a kain gadol is mora halacha to himself, it's called the par kain Mashiach. And the halacha is he brings a par, he brings a cow, a male cow, a bull, and it's for his chatas. Whereas a regular person, we'll see in a second, a yachid, what does he do when he does a chiv kares? B'shogeg, he doesn't bring a par, he brings either a seira or a kispa. He brings a female sheep or a female goat. Female sheep or female goat is what someone would bring if he's not a kain gadol. But
if you can afford it.
If you can, no, that's something else. That's something else.
You can't bring oifus for chatas.
No, this chatas oif.
But not for an individual.
I'm not sure.
Individual who sins and he can't afford a kispa or an aim.
Then he can drop down to the.
I remember.
Yeah, I think so.
I think you
can even bring a carbon mincha even if he can't afford the birds.
I remember that's for regular chatas
sure.
Or a yard.
Could be called, yeah. No, you're right. I don't know. We'll have to get to it. I'm not 100% sure. So par kain Mashiach is a yachid carbon. It's just the kohen gadol himself who's meir halacha for himself. So it's not a tzibur halacha, but he's a unique type of yachid. And there's another type of yachid, a nasi. A nasi also, if he's over on an avera that is a chiyuv kares b'mezid, b'shogeg, a nasi or a melech, same thing. He brings a chatas and he brings a seir. So whereas a regular person brings a seira or kizba, the nasi / melech brings a seir of a male goat.
It's a halacha specifically just to those two people.
In the Torah,
it's in the Torah, in the psukim in Parshas Vayikra. Yeah. So,
chok or it's
mamish in psukim.
Oh, we don't know.
What's the reason?
No, I don't know. Why this animal versus that animal?
No, why they bring more? Because they're
the holier level, different level. But it's not even.
Standard.
But it's not even clear that the animal. I mean, I don't know why a female goat's any worse than a male.
It's two versus one. No.
It's one or the other. They have a choice. A regular, normal guy. You and I go to an aver that's a chikares. We have to bring either a female sheep or a female goat. Whereas if you were a king, then you have to bring a male goat. If you were a kohen gadol, then you have to bring a male cow. If you,
a bull?
A bull, it's a male cow. Correct, thank you. It's a bull. Yeah, it's just in my head. I hear the word par, I think cow, and then wait, no, that's a male cow. That's a bull. Okay. So with that sort of hakdama, we have all of these different cases we need to know that in every single one of these scenarios, the Aveira that's under discussion, in order for there to be a Chiv Chatas to begin with, must be an Aveira that if you did it on purpose, you Chav Kares.
Right.
So says the Gemara. Rebbe uses the word Aleha, again, the Aleha written by Achos Isha, which is a Kares. Yeah, Bezdin, meaning Par Helam Davar Shal Tzibur. They're not going to be Chayiv, the Par Chatas. V'chein HaMashiach, meaning the Par Kayim Mashiach, which we just discussed. Ve'lo b'avos kechavim, as well as the Par Helam Davar Shal Tzibur when it comes to an Avid Kechavim. All three of those cases, there won't be a Chiyav Chatas, Ela Al Davar Shechayav and Al Duno Kares. Only if B'mezid you would do those things, they'd be Chiyav Kares, then Shkagaso Chatas. Not only that, that's a brayso. So the Mishnah, Tnanomi and Arius, famous Mishnah, Kol mitzvah shebet Torah. All mitzvahs in the Torah, shechayav and alduna kares, that has a chiyav kares if you do it b'mezid, ve'al shkagos chatas, and if you do it b'shogeg is chayav chatas. Then we say the following. And here's where it says out what I said before. Yachid, a regular normal person, chatas brings maybe kisba isira. He brings a female sheep or a female goat. Nasi, a king, maybe sayer, he brings a male goat, and Mashiach, the kohen gadol, he brings. Mashiach ubezdin, right? Mashiach meaning the par kohen Mashiach, and bezdin the par helam davar shel tzibur of a regular normal avera of a kares mevian par. They bring a bull. Ubeavodas kochavim. This is the unique one. Beavodas kochavim. It depends. Yachid nasi uMashiach. When it comes to the individual chatas of an balaveda zara, we don't make a difference between whether you're a king or you are a kohen gadol. A person who does avodah zara, which is b'mezid a chiyav kares, b'shogeg is a chayav chatas, and what does he bring? Vivian seira, he brings a female goat. Whereas they changed the gears here. Bezdin, which is right, Bezdin is par hamdav shel tzibur, is mivian par useir. They bring two. This is the only one that you bring actually two. The par, ironically, is not for the chatas. Par la'oila useir lechatas.
Oh,
So far, so good. We need Aleha. We haven't exactly explained how we need Aleha, but Aleha is to teach me the dinim all of this in the Bryce. And the Gemara is going to now go back, explain how Rebbe does it, and then once we do that, we have to say, well, okay, what do you do? You don't have Aleha for this, so and that's the Gemara by the way to the end. It says the Gemara, where do we learn this from? The Tana Rabbanan, the pasuk says as follows: which is said by Par El Dav Shel Tzibur, and it says that the Noda Chatos Asher Chatu, and here's the key word Aleha. So we darshan Aleha, Rabbi Yomer Nemo Kan Aleha, meaning here. It's an opposition. Fine. So that takes
what
care.
Rebbe did with Aleha.
So Aleha teaches me Par El Davar Shel Tzibur is going to be chayav chatas only when the mazid is a kares. Again,
that was the one
from Aleha from Par El Davar Shel Tzibur. And once I have Par El Davar Shel Tzibur, Par El Davar Shel Tzibur is now going to teach to the rest of the dinim in Rebbe's way. Says the Gemara. Ashkach and Tzibur, you've explained Par El Davar Shel Tzibur.
Then I'm going to get distracted. I'm going to distract you now.
Yeah.
You want to start to call me.
Yeah, okay.
Rabbi 150, 135, you meeting me in the lobby?
I'll be there.
How do you enter? Right there in the front?
Yeah, with a mask. Or you get one there. You can get there.
Yeah, they have masks in the front desk.
All right,
you
right there.
You too. All the best.
I hope we have a minion with us too.
Par Hel Davar Shel Tzibur, you have a pasuk of Aleha. Very nice. Eshkach and Tzibur. Mashiach. How do I know that the Par Kei Mashiach brings a par when a chatas, when it's a chiyav kares? Maybe it's even when it's not a chiyav kares. The pasuk says, "But Mashiach by the kohen gadol." It says the pasuk says La Ashmas Ha'am. It refers to it as the tzibur. The Ashmas Ha'am. Ha'am is the tzibur. That it's the same thing like the tzibur. So basically, over there you see that the kohen Mashiach has the same din, that it's also only bekares. Therefore, it's a chiv chatz only bekares. So that takes care of kohen gadol. Hare Mashiach kitzibur. So you see over here that it compares the two to each other. Now, what about a yachid? A yachid and a nasi, meaning a regular normal guy, brings a chatas. And how do I know a nasi? That is learned. Both of those are learned out from Gzeira Shava. So it's really asya mitzvahs. You have to look at the psukim.
Where does it say mitzvahs?
It says mitzvahs by a regular normal yachid. It says mitzvahs by nasi, and it says mitzvahs by param davar shel tzibur. So we do like a triple Gzeira Shava to basically connect them all. So now I know that param davar shel tzibur, Mashiach, a yachid who is a regular yachid, and a yachid who is a nasi are all covered. Okay, very nice. What about v'lo be'avodas kochavim ela al davar shechayav al dunu kares al shkas chatas? This is quoting the Mishnah above that it said that when it's an avodah zara, we said over here that it's only v'chiv chatas is only when it's a kares. How do we know this? Says the Gemara. Tzibur be'avodas kochavim, the par ha'elam davar shel tzibur, that they're meira halacha in avodah zara, where we know that the halacha over there is you bring 2 karbanos, right? That halacha before. How do I know that the chatas that you bring is only on the avera of a avodah zarah of a kares? Yalif me'ene, and from par hel davar shel tzibur, of a regular problem davar shel tzibur where it says me'ene, right? It's ne'elam me'ene. So too by avodah zarah it says the exact same language. So we extrapolate the chiyuv chatas only in a kares, even to the carbon sibur of an avodah zarah, and again, meaning to say the par helam davar shel tzibur of when they're made halacha in avodah zarah. The only thing that's left is the individual avodah zarah carbon. Says the Gemara, Yachin Nasiv Mashiach, which are all the same. How do I know of avodah zarah that they are only bechiyav kares? Me've'im nefesh achas, meaning to say the Torah over there when it refers to those 3 cases, it starts with a vav. Ve'im nefesh achas. So achas combines all 3. Echad Yachid ve'echad Nasiv Mashiach, that they're all together b'mashma. Now, what is their halacha? The vav tells me the vav of ve'im, vav mosef alin rishon, meaning to say v'yilamet tachton min ha'elyon, meaning to say if you look in the order of the psukim, par ha'elam davar shel tzibur is written above it. So since par ha'elam davar shel tzibur is written above, and I learned par ha'elam davar shel tzibur of avodah zarah from me'eni, well, that means that par ha'elam davar shel tzibur of avodah zarah is bekaris only, and that is above, and so therefore tachton yachid pulls from the vav. That everything that was going on above applies down below. That is according to Rebbe how we knock out all of these halachas. Now Rabbanon, who don't have aleha, and therefore they don't have this string of limudim, how do they do it? Rabbanon haisvarim min alahu. I think haisvar here just means generic, meaning how does this slew of halachas, or the idea that all of the chataos are only when it's a matter of kares b'mezid, how does he learn it? Nafkilahu min the mekaris Rabbi Yeshua Lebrei, from the following drasha that Rabbi Yeshua ben Levi said to his son. Pasuk says by the avodah zarah of the pasuk right before the pasuk we're about to quote is talking about the avodah zarah of a yachid, and therefore the pasuk right after talking about the avodah zarah of a yachid, it says Torah achas yihi alachem la'osa b'shgaga, that it's one Torah, meaning it's mashma that it's for everyone. Torah achas implies that it's all the same. So to anyone who does it b'shgaga, that you're going to be chayev achatas, and the very next pasuk after that is v'hanefesh ashatas b'yad rama v'nichras. So the pasuk says. So you see, it mentions kares over there. And the very next pasuk is talking about the of avodah zarah. And so therefore, the 2 psukim that are juxtaposed to each other of Torah achti alechem lo'osu b'shgaga tells me it's talking about sort of all of them. V'hanefesh ashatas b'yad rama includes a yachid of avodah zarah that says kares. Huksha kol haTorah kula la'avodas kochavim, to say that mal avodas kochavim dover shechayavan al zduna kares v'ashkagos chatas av kol dover shechayavan al zduna kares ashkagos chatas. Now that is only true though for the cases of individuals, because none of those cases were talking about any types of par ha'elam davar shel tzibur. It was only talking about the individual cases of avodah zarah. So therefore, according to the Chacham, everything starts with the pasuk. It's only going by yachid. No tzibur is discussed there. So we have to first start talking about the yachid. So it's interesting. In Rebbe, we start par ha'elam davar shel tzibur, and then we work our way down to the yachid. Whereas in the Chacham, we start by the yachid and we work our way up to the tzibur. Says the Gemara like this: Ashkech yachid unasi u'mashiach, because those are all included in Torah achas. And we also found that that's true. Torah achas tells me not only avodah zarah, ben avodas kol ben shar mitzvahs, that when you're talking about a regular normal guy, Torah achas tells me that a yachid, tells me a nasi, tells me a melech, tells me a kohen gadol, tells me all of. Not only that, it tells me all of those guys for avodah zarah also. However, tzibur b'avodas kacham minayin, we don't know tzibur b'avodas kacham minayin. We also don't know par ha'elam davar shel tzibur either. Tzibur b'avodas kacham minayin, we haven't discussed that yet. He says Amar Kra, he comes from the nefesh, the nefesh pasuk that Rebbe used the vav to teach me to go all the way down to the cases of yachid. So he goes the other way. He says that the vav tells me that the yachid of avodah zarah teaches me about tzibur. Tzibur b'avodas kol minayin, amar kra ve'im nefesh v'yilamed elyon, meaning the case of a tzibur of avodah zarah is learned mitachton from a yachid of avodah zarah. Tzibur b'shar mitzvos min elon. So he also uses the same zera shava, he just uses it in the opposite direction. Rebbe learned me'eni to go from par ha'elam davar shel tzibur to par avodah zarah, and Chachamim go from par shel avodah zarah to par ha'elam davar shel tzibur to teach me me'ena. Meaning to say, at this point, they both have an explanation for how they get to the various different halachas. And they're all learning the same halacha. It's just that they each get there a different way. What's the halacha we're learning? That you're only going to be chayiv chatas when the mezid is a chayiv kares. For Rebbe, hay Torah achas my avidle. Meaning again, since Rebbe started using a pasuk that the Chachamim used, aleha, so he needed to use it for that. He therefore didn't need to use the pasuk that the Chachamim used, which was the whole business of the hekesh of Torah achas yalachem, which was the hekesh v'nefesh shetase b'yad Rama. So Rebbe didn't need it. So what does he do with that pasuk? The boy look at the Tanya. He needs it for the following case. Lafish matzinu shechilik hakasa ben yechidim lemerubim. And here, let's not get confused. Merubim does not mean the par helam dov shel tzibur v'avodah zarah. This is talking about an ir hanidachas. Nir hanidachas is a special halacha that if you have a city, that rove of that city does avodah zarah. The halacha is if they do it b'mezid, they're chayiv misa, a special type of misa. They're chayiv misas hereg. They're chayiv sayef. They get. This is why I sent out the thing last night about looking up all the different misas, and I wanted to make sure I understood exactly what each one is. So the fish matzina shechilak hakasa ben yechidim l'merubim. Meaning, if you were to do avodah zarah chas v'shalom, you're chayiv skila. If, on the other hand, the person, if the whole town does it, for some reason, we drop a level in chumrah of the misa, and it goes down to hereg. You get a sword. So says the Gemara. The following verse says, I might think Yechidim b'skila, meaning what's the chiluk that Yechidim are b'skila? That Yechidim get a very, very chomer Mrs. Bezdin of skila, lefikach nemulim polit. Therefore, we're makel on their money that it doesn't have to be destroyed, so that even if someone did avodah zarah, his children get the yarshin him, and his money isn't destroyed and get rid of. However, merubin and ira nidachas, where we're makel. Sorry, other way around. We're machmir on the on the Mrs. Bezdin, so we're makel on the money. But merubim, when the nira nidachas is punished, they're besayef. They get a makel form of Mrs. Bezdin, of hereg, a sword. Lafikach memoinam aved, we don't allow any, not only of the people to live, none of their money live, and therefore their children don't yash, and then we get rid of all their money. So now I might think that since the Torah was mechalik between the punishment of the tzibur and the punishment of the yachid when it comes to avodah zarah, I might think yachol nachlok bekarban hasein as well. I might think that when everyone in the ir nidachas does it b'shogeg, and when a person individually does it b'shogeg, they won't have different karbanos. Meaning, we know that when an individual does avodah zarah b'shogeg, we said earlier, he brings a seira or a kizba. Is that right? No, that's a regular person. He brings a seir. Did I write it down correctly?
No, I think it's zero.
Avodah zarah of a yachid is avodah zarah of a yachid is a seira. You were right. Chatzis brings a seira. That's the halacha, right? So I might think that the ira nidachas doesn't bring a seira, it brings something else. Says the Gemara, to teach me that no, it's Torah achas, that the yachid and the sibra of avodah zarah all bring a seira. So even though it's a lot of people bringing it, but they all bring a seira. Not to be confused with the halacha of a par hamdav shel tzibur when it's avodah zarah. So what's that? That's a good question. The Gemara doesn't address that.
Right.
Gemara leaves that up. Now says the Gemara, Maskal Rav Chilkiah Magrunya, he has a problem. Time of the custom of Rachman Torah to tell me that both the Ira Nidachas and an individual both bring a seira. Halav havi amina nechlak. You'd say that they would get two different kabbanas. It says the Gemara, my lesu. What would you say would be the new mechudesh deka halacha that this Ira Nidachas would bring individually?
Be a little more lenient.
Not just more lenient, but it has to be different, right? So what's it going to be? And the Gemara, for a reason, assumes here. Tosfos speaks out a little complicated. Tosfos at the bottom. He says the Gemara seems to be bothered that if you're going to tell me that the Ira Nidachas is, which really is just a group of individuals doing the Aveira, you're going to tell me that they have a different halacha when it comes to the Mrs. Bezdin. I have to assume this is like a new mechudesh dika halacha that no other scenario would receive the carbon it gets.
Oh. And there's no more animals left.
And so Gemara is basically going to go through it and say, like, lacy par, that can't work, because what do you mean? Sibur b'shar mitzvahs hu demais.
Right.
We know that par of shel tzibur already brings a par.
Right.
Not only that, so does a parkei Mashiach. Kizba, that's a problem. A yachid b'shar mitzvahs hu demais. We know you can bring a kizba or a seira, so kizba's already covered. Seir, we just explained that a nasi, a king, b'shar mitzvahs hu demais. Meaning if the nasi in non-avodah zarah brings a seir. Par le'ola user lechatas. What are we going to say? We're going to tell him to bring a par for an ola and a seir lechatas, like who? Like the person who does tzibur. That's what a tzibur does when they're the par halam double shel tzibur and they're moira halacha and avodah zarah of pares. You have to bring a chatas as a seir and a par as an ola. So you can't say that all of a sudden the ir and idachas is going to have that same halacha because that's not special. Elamai seira. What are you going to say? It's a seira? That doesn't work either. Like we just explained, Yochid Nami Hainu Karbono, meaning that's the exact same thing. We don't want it to be. We want it to be the same. So he says, so therefore, what are you telling me? I have a pasuk to tell me this. I wouldn't have, what would I have said? It's Salkatet Chamina, Hoil B'Tzibur B'Hoyra, Maisi Par, La'oila User Lachatas. You might think that the carbon the Helam Davar Shal Tzibra of Avodah Zarah makes two korbanos. The chatas is a seir, and the ola is a par. I might think in Hunami they bring the same things, but they flip it. Nesi Ibcha, that they bring a par for a chatas, and they bring a seir.
Every dagan.
Yes. So that's the Havamina. Kamashval and Torah.
Why you have to look at the exact same thing?
Because we said for some reason the Gemara is assuming that it's got to be its only.
Simple.
The Gemara says I think Ibcha, but this is now a new formulation of how they bring it. Inami, you're right. I don't have a solution. Sarech, they do need to bring a carbon, and he gufa the Havamina without the pasuk, as I would have thought they like the kana that they're stuck. Kamash meaning stuck, meaning they can't bring it. They have no kapara, which is a problem. So Kamash Torah says they bring the same thing as a yafik, and then we pick up the Gemara here too, which if you want to read together again, but I just don't have time. Yeah, last night was a tough night for me.
You spent 4 hours?
Only because I didn't start preparing until very late, and I underestimated. I remember when I learned this, I remember it being
What
complicated.
did your wife think? Did she know
She likes it.
Did she know that she was married to a doctor? You just picked this up now?
No, I was always learning when I was younger.
I don't know, but the first couple of years when you were married, you were learning 4 hours a day.
But I went. Are we recording?
When you were in Satori, you were learning 30 hours a day.
No.
You got that.